YouTube, what's going on? In today's video, I'm going to be covering Testing Station 136, otherwise known as the Fire Lab, using melee only. I'm going to be going through the loadout I use, tools and techniques I'm going to be using, as well as the boss fight itself, so you guys can get a better handle on how to clear this with only melee. Alright, let's go through the loadout I'm going to be using first, guys. I'm going to be using the Replica Pulse Sword today, grade 5. I have 3 augments on it. You can use dual blades if you want to, but as far as the augments go, you're going to want the heavy blade adjuster, you're going to want the blade sharpener, and then optionally you can either use edge optimizer or the heavy metal blade, basically. It's one of the new augments from the old quarry. Depends on if you have it. This is an older sword that I made, but I'm still using it. It's old reliable. So, but you can use, like I said, a dagger. You can use dual blades. You can use rapier. It doesn't matter which melee weapon you use. The build is going to remain the same, and same with the augments. Moving on to the armor, we're going to rock a full set of forge armor. So as you can see, it is double augmented with fire resistance. So if you haven't farmed these pieces already, just try to get a full set of forge. And now depending on which level of difficulty you're going to be doing that, you're going to want as much fire resistance as possible, especially with this boss. Her fire dots really hurt at level 40. I'm going to show you how you can mitigate this, not just in addition to just using the armor I'm using. But we have radiation absorbing fabrics on each piece of armor. We have flame resistant fabrics on each piece of armor as well, giving us a total of about, I want to say 70% fire resistance off the top of my head with all these pieces combined. It adds up, let me tell you. But that's going to be our armor and our weapons. Let's move on to our abilities. As far as our abilities go, you guys are going to notice that we have a lot of loose skill points over here. I'm level 100 combat, so I have an extra 54 skill points. I also have 100 sabotage, so just keep in mind that I'm doing an extra 50% damage to staggered targets. It's going to really help with our melee build. Now, going back to the actual skills themselves, we're going to be putting 3 points into center of mass to get us some extra blade damage and shield damage when we're doing slow blades against targets. We're going to have field maintenance. We're going to have Suspensor Dash when we're clearing the lockout rooms for this lab. Suspensor Efficiency can be helpful for the final phase of the boss. And we're going to have 1 point into the Sentinel to get 3 points into Garment Keeper for the Mentat tree. Everything else, like I said, is optional. I don't really have a need for any of this stuff since I'm running melee. If you wanted the hybrid and you wanted to put stuff in the ranged, you could. But as you can see, we have a lot of loose skill points, so you can throw these wherever you want. But moving on to Planetologist, we have 3 points in the rerouting, 3 points in the overcharge, and we're all set here. If you wanted to put points into conservation of energy when you're clearing the lockout rooms to be a little bit tankier against the ads, you could do that as well. That's an option. Moving on to the Bene Gesserit tree. We are going to look at getting Weirding Step, Manipulate Instability, and since I'm rocking long blades, I don't need to put points into short blade damage, but if you are running dual blades or the dagger, put points into that as well. We're also putting points into Compel, Voice Training. We also have Vitality, a point into Recovery, and we're going to put points into Self-Healing. Now, optionally, if you're running this as a group and you want to have more resistance from the boss, and let's say you have a partner to run this with, you can put on Litany Against Fear if you're both running melee. This ability is actually AoE and affects your teammates. So if you guys keep running on and off Litany Against Fear, you'll have almost 100% uptime with this if each of you trade off using Litany Against Fear. And it's going to give you a ton more damage resistance. It's not going to require you to have nearly as decked out Forge armor equipped with the fire resistance, especially when you're trying to take some of these shots with that on. But it'll go a long way using Litany Against Fear if you're doing this with a partner. Doing this solo with that, it's a little bit slower for the kill, so I wouldn't recommend it unless you have none of the gear that I mentioned. It could be helpful for that, but you're going to see during the boss fight that there is some downtime between the attack phase that we do to make sure that we're playing it safe. So moving on to Blademaster, we have points into long blade damage, points into blade damage. A big one that we want, guys, is going to be Confidence and Reckless Lunge. You can put points into Solid Stance. It doesn't matter too much. I noticed maybe a tiny bit of a difference for this, but it doesn't really going to go a long way. Looking over at the last part of Blademaster, we have point into Prescient Strike. We have Inspiration. This is another thing you can do optionally if you have a partner and you want to trade off running Inspiration. It can be helpful. we're running knee charge, and we have a point in the cripple strike to put points into general conditioning and field medicine. So as far as our abilities and techniques go, guys, as far as the lockout rooms, it's our bread and butter. It's going to be knee charge, weirding step, and compel. If you're running in a group, it could be helpful to run cripple strike instead of knee charge. For the boss, though, we're going to swap back to knee charge. We're going to use weirding step, and we're going to use compel. As I mentioned before, for the boss, if you have a partner, instead of running weirding step, you can run litany against fear. Or if you want to swap out the compel, you could put litany against fear on and keep weirding step, so you still have a gap closer. That's another option. You can even get rid of knee charge, but the knee charge is actually pretty helpful considering that it synergizes really well when we have Prescient Strike on our bar, so we're going to get extra attacks and damage. Now, as far as techniques go, we're going to have Manipulate Instability, Center of Mass, and Suspensor Dash for the lockout rooms. For the boss, we're going to swap on Reckless Lunge, so we get that big damage mitigation against her fire dots when we're up close, and that's going to be our abilities and techniques. Moving on, let's go show you guys some footage of the boss, and I'm going to explain how this build works in action for the boss so you can take her out yourself. Alright guys, for the sake of the video, we're only going to be showing the boss fight. That way you don't have to see me clear the ads. I think you guys know how to clear the ads usually, so we're going to skip right to the juicy part. Now, for the fight itself, you're noticing that I have Reckless Lunge on, I have Knee Charge, I have Weirding Step and Compel, all these things that are all set up for the boss. But remember to swap that technique out if you have the Spencer Dash on. And I usually like to open up the boss with a Compel. I like to get her under control, get my positioning up, make sure my stamina is all ready to go. Usually you can get 2 to 3 swings in, go back in for the knee charge, she's going to shuffle, you're going to weirding step, get a couple more swings in. When you see her get hyper armor, where basically her whole bar becomes silver, you're going to want to back up and reset. Also, once she starts shooting at you, it's another time to just use compel again and reset and do the whole process over again. I like to get my stamina back up in these fights, so you'll see that I step back a little bit and reset a lot. So she has hyper armor right there, so we're going to wait until that's gone, and then we're going to re-engage. Sometimes Weirding Step's a little bit glitchy and doesn't let you re-engage, but you'll see that a couple times during the fight. And once you phase her, you want to back up a little bit, see what attack she's going to use. I like to sometimes just wait around for the ad to come out, and then I'll just try to compel the boss, and if that doesn't work, I'll just Weirding Step the enemy and try to one-shot them. If you don't have the damage for one-shotting the NPC, I'd recommend trying to compel the boss first to make sure you don't get hit in the back. And if you're low on stamina, you can always crouch down, and if she's shooting normally, you can actually dodge her fireball pretty easily. And just reset your stamina and re-engage.
Let's test this stuff out.
Sometimes it's always good to just top up if you get hit by some of her hyper armor, which she'll get a fireball off once in a while. So that's what confidence and Reckless Lunge is for. You'll see later in the fight if we get on fire, we're going to use Reckless Lunge to mitigate a lot of that fire damage. And she has hyper armor again right there with the silver bar. We're going to back up and reset for compel.
I feel better. How about you?
This is where it gets interesting. You're going to have an ad pop out, and you're also sometimes going to have her drop the drone. So if you get hit by the drone, just Reckless Lunge, and you can mitigate a lot of that fire damage. The Forge Armor combined with the Reckless Lunge is going to mitigate down to like a couple damage per tick, so you can just heal it up. Going to clear the ad, and we're back to business.
I like mine. Well done. Out of fuel. I should be in the arena.
If you stay in her face a lot of the times, you can actually dodge some of her abilities. Like, she won't pull the drone out sometimes if you stagger her. So there is some ways to skip mechanics if you run rush her, especially if you have a partner, if it's you and them trying to hit this person. So
Let's see you dodge these. Now things are gonna get heated.
as you can see, the confidence kicked in right there, so our mitigation upped a little bit.
I like mine.
Got a nice reckless lunge, so we're taking less fire dot. Now we're just going to wait for the reset. If you have the drone out and it hasn't hit you, this is where you got to wait for it to blow up. Compeller, kind of bide your time, get a band-aid off.
Let's test this stuff out. I can smell it. You're almost done. Let's test this stuff out.
Remember, reckless lunge lasts for a couple seconds, so it'll basically nullify the fire damage if she does hit you a little bit. So it goes a long way. And just like that, guys, it's over. We cleared it. So if you liked the video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. I'm going to post more builds like this and more guides, and there's going to be plenty of stuff on my channel for you to enjoy when it comes to Dune Awakening. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments below. Which build you want to see next, or which dungeon you want me to see next to clear with melee. And see you in the next one. Peace.